Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Monday Zen and Zazen class. I think this is our first class in 3 months. I was in Germany during the months of August and September. I came back to Japan 2 weeks ago. Last week I was busy, so this is the first time we meet since I'm back from Germany. So it's nice to see you back. As always, let's sit together for 30 minutes. And last time, before the summer break, I talked about Suzuki Shunryu Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. So today I want to talk about this book, To You by Sawaki Roshi. But before that, as always, let's sit together for 30 minutes. Okay, thank you for joining. And today I want to talk about Sawaki Roshi's To You. But before that, during the summer when I was away, I got 2 comments on YouTube, and they both address the same topic. Last time I talked about Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. There was obviously a spot where Suzuki Roshi talks about diaphragmal breathing. I will read one of those comments that I got. I have a question about the following passage. Also, to gain strength in your posture, press your diaphragm down towards your hara. Hara is the Japanese word for lower belly, this area here. Press your diaphragm down towards your hara. When you try to keep this posture, at first you might find some difficulty breathing naturally, but when you get accustomed to it, you will be able to breathe naturally and deeply. So that's the quote from Suzuki Roshi. And the person writes, as I understand it, this can only apply to inhaling, because when exhaling, the diaphragm moves upwards. Have I misunderstood something? The only rule I knew for Zazen in this respect was breathe into the belly. At the time when we read this part of Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, I didn't really notice it. But now that somebody pointed to it, I also find this a little bit confusing. What does he say? Push your diaphragm downwards. Press your diaphragm downwards towards your hara. So like when I explain how to sit, I usually only say a few words about the breathing. And I say, during Zazen we use diaphragmal breathing. That means when you breathe out, your diaphragm or your belly contracts. And then when you breathe in, it will expand again. So I don't talk about pressing it down. The person who writes the comment says that when you exhale, what does he write? This confused me also a little bit. He says, when exhaling, the diaphragm moves upwards. In my view, when I exhale, does it move upward? It contracts. So it contracts when I exhale and expands when I inhale in a natural way. But well, the only explanation for this pressing it down I have is that when Suzuki Roshi taught Zen in the 60s, and maybe today it's the same situation, but in the 60s in America, people had lost the connection to the diaphragm. So for them, breathing is something that you do with the lung. And also when I started to do Zazen in the 80s in Germany, my teacher told me, well, probably you only know kind of to breathe with your breast. You breathe with your chest. When you breathe, you think you do it with your chest, but you need to find a connection to your hara, to your diaphragm. So how do you find a connection there? How do you connect the breath to the movement of the belly? Well, one way is to press your diaphragm down. I would do that when I exhale. That would feel natural that I exhale. But then when I inhale, I would just relax and allow my belly to expand. Probably the idea is that once you found the connection, then it will happen naturally. Actually, 5 years ago or so, I practiced Ashtanga yoga quite a lot, and I had great difficulties, especially with the breath, because I practiced diaphragmal breathing for so long that for me it felt like the only way to breathe, that my belly expands and contracts with each breathing in, breathing out. So in Ashtanga yoga, I was taught, well, one thing I was taught is that inhaling and exhaling should be about the same length. Also in Zen, usually exhaling is much longer than inhaling. But then I was taught to, well, use my chest. The chest should expand when inhaling, and then it's contracting again when exhaling. So I should breathe with the chest, not with the hara. And I did it the opposite way around. So actually at that time, Xuanzang helped me a little bit with this, helped me a little bit. And I don't remember exactly what Xuanzang told me at the time, but at least to me it felt that I was, well, consciously extending my chest when I breathe in, and then consciously also contracting it again. And it's a little bit like kind of jump starting. Once the breath is connected again to your chest, then it works naturally. But if you've lost this connection, then you have to somehow jumpstart it. So my idea is that Sawaki Roshi here is trying to help us to, well, jumpstart diaphragmal breathing by saying press your diaphragm down when you exhale, I would guess. When you exhale, you press it down. And then when you inhale, you relax and allow your belly to expand. But then once it becomes natural, of course, you don't have to consciously press your diaphragm down anymore. So that's the only possible explanation I can think about. But now I want to start with Sawaki Roshi's book To You Again. We are on page 61, and the last quote I read before the summer, or before I took the break, was, apart from Zazen, all of your good deeds, in quotes, come out of your ego consciousness because you're always thinking, I do good. Only when you stop thinking, I do Zazen, are you doing true Zazen. And I thought that quote led to some discussions because, well, what is Sawaki Roshi trying to say here? Is he trying to say that we shouldn't be doing good? That doing good is actually a bad thing because it's connected to our ego? But when we do something bad, probably most of us have the feeling it's even worse. And when we do something bad, it's usually connected to our ego as well. Well, one thing that Sawaki Roshi might say, he actually does say it somewhere in this book, that when we do something bad and we realize we do something bad, that can also be a reason to be humble. While when you do something good and you're aware you're doing something good, it strengthens the ego. But then, of course, basically all of Buddhism says, refrain from doing bad. Practice that which is good, which seems to be contradicting what Sawaki Roshi says here. But it's important that he makes a parallel here to Zazen when he says you shouldn't practice with the idea, I do Zazen. Of course, he doesn't say that you shouldn't practice Zazen. Rather, I don't know, go to the pachinko parlor, drink with your friends. That's better than doing Zazen. But the point he's making is, when practicing Zazen, don't do it with the idea of I am practicing Zazen, but rather allow Zazen to practice Zazen. And the same is true about doing good. Allow good to practice good. And that reminded me of something that somebody told me when I taught about the importance of the Bodhisattva vow. We vow to live as a Bodhisattva, or the importance of the precepts. And what this person, a fellow monk, told me, you should never forget that you cannot own the vow, or you cannot own the precepts. It's not your vow. It's not your precept. And even when you keep to the precept, you should never make the mistake of thinking, I kept the precept, or I fulfilled this vow. The vow or the precept is bigger than you. You can never own it. The only thing we might do is aim at being owned by it, so to speak. Being, how do you say, possessed by the Bodhisattva vow, allowing the Bodhisattva vow to possess us, allowing the precepts to possess us and thus protect us. And I think that's the point made here about doing good. Never make the mistake of thinking that you are doing good. No, no. In the moment when you do good, you are possessed by good. It's not that you are doing good and thus creating virtue. But let me proceed just a little bit further. Next quote at the bottom of page 61. Sit in Zazen with the intention to starve. That means that you shouldn't count on always having something to eat as long as the wheel of the Dharma turns. On the contrary, as long as you keep the wheel of Dharma turning, it doesn't matter at all whether you have something to eat or not. So Sawaki Roshi here says some people seem to rely on or to count on that they will always have something to eat as long as they practice. As long as I practice and don't think about myself, I will always get something in return. Probably also in relation to money. There are some people that have this idea that the more you spend, the more you get in return. If you want to gain money, first you have to give money, you have to invest money. And Sawaki Roshi's philosophy here is just give, 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 without even thinking about if you will ever get something in return. And from my experience, maybe it's only me, but in my case, that always worked. Like when I was 22, graduate from university, I went to Antaiji, was never sure if I could live by that. When I became the abbot, I was 33, I married, pretty soon I had 2 kids. Nobody knew how or if I could provide for my kids. But maybe because I've never really thought about how will I provide for my family, how will I provide for myself after I leave Antaiji. I had no money. I mean, it's not that I got some money from Antaiji when I left there. Still, it somehow worked out. But now if I would say, if you always give unconditionally without thinking about the return, then naturally You will always have something. Again, that would be tricky because maybe somebody would listen to that and think, well, if Muho says I should just give without thinking of getting anything back, then I will get something back, in brackets, so to speak. If I give without thinking about the return, then I will get something in return. Then again, it's not pure giving. So that's why Sawaki Roshi goes so far as to say you should sit with the intention to starve. But there might be in the history of Buddhism, there might be monks that actually starved, but I never heard about them. Usually, if you really put your whole everything, you put your whole being into the practice, at the end of the day, you will have something to eat. But again, forget about that. Forget about that and sit, practice, live your life with the intention of starving, of starving. It doesn't matter at all whether you have something to eat or not. Okay, maybe for today up to here. And um, next week I will come back to Suzuki Roshi's Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. But today we still have time. So if you have questions, things that you would like to share, you are welcome to do so.
Hello, I'm for the first time here. I'm Timea. Can you hear
Hi,
me?
welcome, welcome.
Hi.
From where
So
are
I
you
wanted
connecting?
to I'm in Osaka right now,
Oh, you're in
but
Osaka.
uh yeah. So I just wanted to ask you because I arrived later, what was the book that you were reading from? Can you tell me
Um,
the
the
title or
title is To You by Kodo Sawaki.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
This one.
Yeah, that's it. Cool.
And next
Okay,
week
thank
it's
you.
going to be Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. Mm.
I just want to say, if
Parts
you're in
of,
Osaka,
pardon?
you should go to the park and meet Muho on a Sunday morning. He has a really nice Zen group, and they meditate in Osaka.
Yeah. Unfortunately, last Sunday it didn't happen, but next Sunday we will have a half-day session from 6:30 until 3:30 in the afternoon, 9 hours. So if you're still in Osaka and want to, you don't have to attend the whole 9 hours, but you can come
Oh,
also for
okay.
a portion of that.
Okay. I might drop by because I live in
Yes,
Osaka, so yeah, I
yes.
will be here.
Okay. Yeah. So next week,
Thank you.
because it's 9 hours, we sit in a different spot, but I can send you a link to Google Maps. If you want to attend that,
Okay, yeah,
you're
sounds good.
welcome.
I sent you an email like a few weeks before. I don't know
Yes,
if you
yes.
remember.
Yeah.
And
I can
yeah,
send a
you
link
can.
to that. Good.
Thank you.
Chris, I saw you sit in full lotus today, and Schwan-san was sitting in a chair. What happened? I expected it to be the other way around.
Yeah, my legs fell asleep. I wanted to challenge the she could do it easily long ago before she has this she had to have a surgery, so her legs
Oh,
uh
oh,
Yeah, I
so
had a surgery 2 weeks ago.
oh.
Yeah.
Okay,
if
I
she
see.
can do it, her legs will just swell up.
I
So,
see. I see. Yeah. Don't force yourself too much.
but my legs were really asleep, and I noticed when you finish, you still haven't uncrossed yours. So yours did not fall asleep.
Um, Actually, like when I go to Germany, often depending on where I sit, but in some places we only sit for 25 or 30 minutes, while in Antalya I sat 45 to 60 minutes. And from my experience, often my feet fall asleep during the first 30 minutes, and then they gradually wake up again. So for me, it's easier to get up after 45 minutes because also the pain helps to wake them up again. While after 20 to 25 minutes, they are completely numb.
Oh.
So for me, it's easier to sit for a long time, or at least thinking about the numbness of the legs. It's easier to get up after an hour or so because the pain helps me to get up. While after 20 or 25 minutes, sometimes I need some time for them to wake up again, so to speak.
I've never done more than 30 minutes. I'll try it with your advice. And then I have a quick question. So today's theme, you talked about how you should do Zazen with the intent of like starving. So that's I think I agree with that. But if like Buddhism's more of a middle path of not
Yes.
being total what do you say, ascetic or whatever. So how do you explain that in that framework?
Mm, 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 mm. I mean, the Buddha said you should live not maybe in the middle of the city, but kind of close to the city so that you can go on begging rounds. You can beg for alms. So nobody, of course, says that you should go deep into the mountains and where nothing grows or so. So of course, when you are hungry and you have nothing else, you can always ask for donations. On the other hand, whenever we talk about the middle way or the middle path, some people have the idea it's kind of this kind of half-assed thing that you don't really do A, you don't do B, you kind of somehow try to aim at the middle, but it's neither hot nor it's cold. And that's not the case. The way I understand the middle way is it's the whole, when I talk about the sheep, I say the meadow. It's the whole area on which you find A and you find B. And you're neither attached to A nor to B, and you're also not attached to the exact middle. It's not that you always have to find where's 50% between A and B, but it's the whole area. And sometimes you even have to go to the extremes to, how do you say, explore this area that is there for you. And in this case, sitting with the intention of starving, of course, means to go to the extreme. But I don't think that the middle way means that you should always eat so that your belly is half full and half empty. Or, well, you can eat vegetables, but you shouldn't eat meat or something like that. But in this case, don't worry about food at all. And if somebody gives you something, then accept it and be grateful for this gift. Well, that's how I see it. But of course, if you're really hungry and you're starving, then like if you're living in Japan and you're a monk, you have the privilege of you just go into the street and you can beg for food. If you're a lay person, look look for some work you can do. See if there's some food out there for you. But you shouldn't worry your whole life about, well, but what will I do when I turn 60 or 70 or 80? Will there be still enough for me to live? How about my rent? Who's going to pay my rent? I think the point Sawaki Roshi is trying to make here, forget about that. Live now. Do your practice now. Do it now. And of course, if you're hungry, of course you have to do something about that.
I mean, it is surely just another way of saying die on the cushion or be prepared to die on the cushion, isn't it?
Yes, 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 of course, yeah. And dying of the cushion also doesn't really sound like the middle way, but again, middle way doesn't mean that you're half alive and half dead, but you give your all. You give your all. You don't give 50%. You give your all. You have to give your all to practice. But that doesn't mean that you torture yourself. You give everything, but you don't have to give more than that. You give everything. You don't have to torture yourself to death. It's just that you let everything go. But as I always say, in a relaxed way. Actually, dying on the cushion is total relaxation. You die in the most relaxed way thinkable. It's not a kind of grinding your teeth and torturing yourself to death. It's total relaxation. André is lifting his hand. André, please.
Yes, thank you. By chance, I was thinking about breathing technique in Zazen too. And when I heard you speaking about diaphragma, my first question was diaphragma pelvis, like Beckenboden, or this diaphragma, how it's called, Zwerchfell. Which one was he talking about? Because there are breathing techniques including both diaphragmas, I heard. So sitting in Zazen, I was watching my breathing and going deeper and deeper, and I was wondering if there is also in Zazen some like putting your attention to the inner parts of the body, like the diaphragma pelvis also, or is like awareness of the body. I was just this. You should not think in Zazen, but in Zazen, this question came to me.
I don't have really much anatomical knowledge, but when I say diaphragm, I would think about the German word Zwerchfell, which is not the
Zwerchfell,
pelvis, but the other one. Yeah, I really never really thought about it so much. Of course, the pelvis is also important for Zazen, but I never really thought about the pelvis in relation to the breathing.
So the pelvis, you are aware in sitting in Zazen, you are aware of it and also contracting it or not, or
No, pelvis I think is the Becken, isn't it in German?
Beckenboden, this muscle.
Der Beckenboden. No, I don't really.
Pelvis is Becken und pelvic floor is Beckenboden.
Ah, okay.
Okay. So the pelvis for me is not so much related to the breathing, but kind of when you, how do you say, put your buttocks on the cushion, if the pelvis is not a little bit, just a little bit pushed forward. It's hard to find stable postures like when sitting. If the pelvis is kind of pointed backwards, all of your weight is on the buttocks and your knees tend to kind of float in the air. So that's where the pelvis is important, that you put the pelvis a little bit forward so that also some of your weight is on the knees. But again, I never really thought about it in relation to the breathing. And I heard the expression pelvis floor today for the first time. So maybe it's important, but I wasn't aware that it's important. Any other questions? Anything else you would like to share or ask? If not, it's exactly 9 o'clock here in Japan now. So if you have no other questions, I would like to thank you and of course especially Schwan-san for hosting us. And I hope to see you again in 1 week when we will talk about Suzuki Shunryu Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind again. So I wish you a nice week and hopefully see you again. If you're in Japan next Sunday, 9-hour mini session in the park, you're invited. Hopefully it won't rain. We have checked the weather account before that. Okay, 2 chats. I will check those later. And again, thank you for joining. See you.